Hello everyone watching at home, this is Adelaide Eternal and we're bringing you the final round of our tournament this month. This one is Legacy and I'm here in the booth with Beckett, Wolfe.
G'day guys. Who are you?
I'm Sarven McLinton and I am on the left of the screen here.
He's on the right of the booth though.
On the right of the booth, don't tell him that. Well, maybe we need a picture-in-picture at the bottom. And David Bemi is on the right. This is the final round. I'm on 4-0. David is on 3-0-1. So if David wins, he comes out victorious and becomes the winner of the Legacy Challenge. And if I win, well, I guess the same is appropriate.
Yeah, you do. Should we check out the player profile, Sarv?
Sure.
Why don't you tell us about this player profile?
I'm not going to talk about myself.
So Dr. Sarven McLinton here. He's won far too many events and he's looking to claim yet another legacy. And if he wins this one, then I think he really cements himself further away and probably unobtainable for the end of the season. Do we have a season? We should get a season where they reset and then someone can finally catch you.
Yeah, we'll have to check the season ratings and see how we're going.
It's a 10-year season.
But it'll be a big one for David Bemi because if he does win this one, that gets him into the leaderboard with a one challenge win. So maybe let's have a quick look at... whose deck list do you want to look at first?
Well, let's look at yours since you know all about it.
Yep. All right. Well... I am on Delver, Grixis Delver, and this is, if you haven't seen this before, it's really all about landing your turn one threat like Delver of Secrets or Deathrite Shaman, and then protecting that and riding it to victory. Sometimes Deathrite Shaman can leverage other creatures like Young Pyromancer on turn 2 and casting a Cabal Therapy, which is a really good combo, flashing it back again off one of the tokens. So Deathrite Shaman does do the job of Mana Dork, but at the end of the day, he's a really good threat and arguably the best the best creature in the Legacy format. So maybe we'll switch over to David's deck, and he's also running Deathrite Shaman, isn't he?
He's also running Deathrite Shaman. He's not running Delver though.
No, so he's
might
on
look
Czech
like
pile.
a Delver list at first glance because it's buggy, but yeah, it's Czech pile. It's sort of your classic control now and feeding in with Leovold. And Leovold's just super good, especially if you can land him on turn 2 after a Deathrite Shaman. And
it's disgusting, right? If you, Leovold on turn 2. If you go Deathrite Shaman turn 1, Leovold turn 2, I mean...
Yeah, even Storm has trouble with that. Like,
it's difficult to deal with.
He seems slow and he seems like a bit too much of a control creature or something, but in a combo heavy format. But yeah, like turn 2 on the play, you go Leovold and Storm is just like, well, how do I beat this
I guess
card?
I have to, well, it's not a sideboarded game, so I have no answers to this.
Yeah.
They can just actually just cast the Storm spells by drawing them off the top of their deck and building up a hand, but that probably takes a large number of turns.
Yeah, that's right. And then even then, they're going to be targeting the player with so many, like Taxian Probes, etc.
Yeah. You can go Dark Ritual, Lion's Eye Diamond, like all the things that don't target them.
I
Then
found
you
my
cast
Force of
Tendrils.
Will. Yeah,
Tendrils, and then you go, okay, here you go, draw 10 cards. Anyway, this isn't a Storm matchup. It is a Delver versus Czech Pile matchup, and unfortunately for myself, Czech Pile was largely built to prey on Delver. I'm not going to ruin the result of this match, and I will let the viewers enjoy it. It's a fun one for one of us. But it is arguably a very skill-intensive match, and it's really about leveraging small edges. So looking at the match, I can't remember whether we've rolled or not. We'll find out soon enough. But if you're in my position as a Delver player, your goal is to play that Delver turn 1 and then protect it and just try and ride it.
You got to ride that Delver because he's always going to win the late game. I mean, that's pretty obvious.
That's it. You can do it with Young Pyro sometimes. I mean, you really need to leverage your wastelands. If you can't leverage your wastelands, fist bump. That's the handshake. So it's a roll of three dice, and that's him on the play. So it's not ideal. I mean, you generally want to be the one on the play when you're when you're playing Delver, but especially so in this matchup. If the check pile deck gets ahead, it's really hard for you to get back into the driver's seat. Once they're ahead, they're ahead.
Yeah, is David running like mainboard Diabolic Edicts and everything? He's just got so many. He's got pushes, he's got bolt.
The sheer amount of removal, even post sideboard, the amount of removal that it has is just massive.
Yeah.
So looking at my hand here, it's a Brainstorm, Stifle, Ponder, Young Pyro, 2 lands. Yes. So it's a very slow hand.
Good. Yep, and I didn't quite see it, but it's lands and spells and he's got a force. David, he doesn't want too many forces because he'll lose the card advantage, but he does need... He probably definitely wants like a force in opening hand, just even to get that first Delver, because we were saying how important it was.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants to like keep drawing them until he's really consolidated his mana base and his card advantage, but definitely having one in there, just go, yep, I can interact with your early stuff, and then follow it up with a Fatal Push or follow it up with a Deathrite Shaman is super important. I mean, that's what Force is all about, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the ultimate tempo card in a deck that is a control and a slow control deck. So,
absolutely. So this is me probing and just having a look. And probing first because I have Young Pyro, but I don't want to probe on turn 2 after Pyro. What I want to do is know whether or not I should Ponder or whether or not I should keep Stifle up.
Yep, information is very important. And especially going into his like turn 2 and trying to figure out, as you say, if he's going to have that. And he is.
I've got a Wasteland in hand as well. So
do you have Stifle in hand?
Yeah, I've got 2 Stifle, 1 Wasteland. So
I just drew a land as well.
Yeah.
It's not a red land, unfortunately, but yes.
Yeah, it's not really where I want to be drawing a land here. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to decide here to keep up Stifle. Because I need to stifle that fetch land. And because he pondered and he left on top, there's a chance that one of the lands there is one of the cards there is a land, or he wants to shuffle away the non-lands with the fetch land. So the stifle can ruin ponder afterwards.
Do you think he would force a turn 1 Delver if you had it, or do you think he'd just go untap bolt?
Yeah, I think the latter. Yeah, he's probably very happy
in which case you could have blown him out with Stifle on a fetch land.
The problem is that he's got Deathrite Shaman, so once he has Deathrite Shaman out, it's essentially his second mana drop. Even though I'm going to be able to hold off Jace for days, no problem. But he's got a threat now. He's the one with the threat, and I'm meant to be the deck with the threat. So I've got this really reactive hand, but unfortunately he has a land already, and now he's got an additional land in the Deathrite Shaman. So I might have to change tack, but this is probably the decision point where you go...
You're not really going to be able to out-control him unless he draws a bunch of Jaces and you draw a bunch of Young Pyromancers.
Yep. The other thing is if I waste land here, I give him 2 lands to use Deathrite Shaman. So what you can do is just not do...
force him to crack.
Yeah, I'm casting. I did draw a Delver here, so this is really where I want to be. It's a nice driver's seat.
And then you stifle.
Yeah,
unfortunately, he's got that. That's what I was talking about. That force will makes all the difference. Now, hopefully, you have a days to back this up. But you can see where he doesn't want to use too many forces there because he'll burn his hand too quickly. But
yeah. Also, he pondered, so he could have been a land there, which it is.
Mm.
Yeah, so he knows that he's got it, and see he can crack that out from underneath my stifle, making that last stifle in my hand really bad.
Mm.
So I took a bit of a gambit here, but it didn't pay off.
No, that's right. And as you said, as soon as you see the Deathrite Shaman now, Wasteland's not great, and honestly, Stifle's not that good because he's got his second source anyway, and he's got all the colours anyway. So. That's a shame.
So the clock's off the table, and
even if you got 1 or 2 beats in with Delver and then he bolted it, it's fine because at least he's feeling a bit of pressure. But he's just untapping with 18 life, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty bad for me. Pretty good for David here. So he's really engineering a position here, crafting a way to solidify his control over the game. And the last threat in my hand is Young Pyromancer, and I still need to draw a red source for that, which is a downside of playing these decks that they only have 6 lands in them.
Unfortunately, David's ponder there is just ultimately always going to be good. If he finds another land, he just gets to go like land Jace, jam Jace with a blue force back up there as his other card. I don't think that's where he wants to be, but like that's almost worst case scenario, right?
Yeah,
like he pondered a bunch of lands and finds land and just goes like, well, I still have a Jace with force backup.
Yep.
And
definitely.
Ideally, he just has like gas in the sense that it's like a Leovold or removal, like or even a counterspell. Because there's no real threat you can play right now that's better than Deathrite Shaman. I mean, even if you have Gurmag here, eventually A, it'll get forced most likely, and B, it can get Jace the next turn, bounced. So there's like really nothing you can play that's that threatening to him. So his ponder is just like so good there.
It's good, yeah. This is why I really like this. Czech Pile isn't a recent invention. It has been something that's been developed over time, but it's more about the tuning and the what once was a pile of random stuff is now quite finely tuned to the meta, being able to prey on Delver, being able to deal with Storm, and it's a really good deck right now.
I think we could see a Force Will here. I don't think he needs to, but I think as I said, if there's anything that can beat him, it's Young Pyromancer, just because it's not supposed to be how Pyro's played. I think Pyro should be played as a tempo card, not as a like, look how many tokens I can get. It's not like, oh my god, I generated 10 tokens. It's just like, it's just a powerful, lot of damage, cheap threat that should be answered very, very quickly.
Yeah, and my hand is Brainstorm, Ponder.
But in saying that,
Stifle,
if he just happens to get unlucky enough not to find removal, you could just have like 14 1/1s if you just keep probing, right? That's not going to be good for your probe.
No. You see,
probe idea.
I was holding open that last mana source so I could Stifle, which would turn off a fetch land and he couldn't cast Jace this turn. But Stifle doesn't play around him casting Leovold off a basic land as well.
Now that brainstorm is a correct brainstorm.
Yeah. As much as I hate brainstorming in my opponent's turn, at the end of their turn or in response to things, this is where I need to find an answer. And, it's all about, hey, if I have Force of Will, he's got Force of Will too. If I have Days, he's got the 1 mana.
How many times have you played
really
against Leovold and then being like,
cried?
I can't duress him, I can't target him, I can't bother him, it's fine. It's alright, I'll just ponder for an answer, and then you go like, wait, I can't even draw.
Yeah, I'll just look at these 3 cards. Yeah, so here, this is a brainstorming response to, obviously, Leovold on the stack. And I really need to find a Lightning Bolt here or a fetch land to shuffle away the dead cards on top of my library and just
Gurmag,
draw.
if you had Gurmag, get
Gurmag's
Days, Gurmag and Days off that brainstorm, and maybe a fetch land and shuffle away your Preordains or something, it's fine. You could get there.
That Force of Will is good. Yeah, my Young Pyro not exactly the best cobbling of 3 power together. When you
I really like Sarven that past you was giving us a few tips there, just in case we weren't going to talk about how Leovold's better than Young Pyromancer. You guys down there playing it, giving us the tips, the backup. Thanks for that. You found your fetch land.
I've got the fetch land, so I can shuffle away one of the bad cards from that brainstorm.
I see a Ponder and a Days, so I know at least that the cards on top are very, very bad if you kept a Ponder.
Yeah. Hey, they trigger Young Pyro. They rearrange my top 3 cards of my library, or my entire library. Yeah. You never underestimate that. I believe there's a green card, Nature's something.
Yeah, it's got a little hawk on it.
It's got a hawk-headed guy holding
Natural
an orb.
Selection, I think.
Natural Selection, is that it? 1 green, Ponder, don't draw a card.
Yeah.
It's literally all of my Ponders are now natural.
Isn't there like Mirari's something? It's like a Sylvan Library. It's 1 green enchantment, and you get to do that at the beginning of your upkeep. You get to just
Miri's Guile?
Miri's Guile.
I'm giving the
now, so you're not allowed to draw there, right?
Yeah.
I think Sarven forgot that he's not allowed to draw. No, folks, he's just triggering the Ponder and he's literally doing a Natural Selection and finding, another Ponder.
Yeah.
That could help
you. I could rearrange my deck 1 more card down next turn. Not this turn, next turn. But I shuffle.
It feels really bad, and I think people want to execute the best possible value, especially when they're playing against control. But the truth is, if you had natural selection in hand, no, you wouldn't put it in your deck. But if you had it in your hand, and you had a young pyromancer out, and you were losing the game, so you're actively trying to find something specific, would you not play it? Of course you would. So, that's the position Sarv's in. It feels really, really bad. But, yeah, look, I can see why you did it, mate. It must have hurt.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to draw a card, by the way. Just reminding myself, just to make sure. That reflex that you have, you ponder and then you shuffle, even though you're like, okay, don't draw a card, and then you just feel like you want to draw a card. You just want to draw a card, but you can't. You just can't. So, David is in a very, very strong commanding position here.
That's fine. Perfectly reasonable against the Delver deck to just play. Yeah. So I was going to say, he can play Jace there. I don't think Jace is that good. If he plays Jace there, it means he can't swing Leovold because he's got to keep it up to protect, which is fine. But Strix is good. So
this is me. He went to go and draw a card, and I was contemplating stifling the the draw of the Strix just because I need to make a token, I need a target, but I know that he's got a fetch land out there, so it doesn't matter. Natural selection, 1 green. Oh, it's an instant. It is actually better than Ponder.
It's strictly better than
Strictly better than Ponder when Leovold is out.
Yeah, when Leovold is out. Yeah. Well, it costs a green, which you probably don't have as money.
Oh, true.
Because you play blue decks, don't you? So.
I do.
So Days on a Thoughtseize with 2 mana up.
Yep. So just let him pay the mana. Cycle Days, turn it into 2 tokens, and he Thoughtseizes away the Stifle. So you can see how maybe I wanted to stifle that draw trigger, but I was just waiting for that fetch land. I wasn't playing around Thoughtseize, Not that my hand's good. Not that I'm worried about Thoughtseize.
I think this is a wrap if you don't find
Lightning Bolt. That's basically when I pondered and just looked for 3 cards and tried to shuffle. It was all about trying to find Lightning Bolt. It's really the only way. And obviously you need to find a pretty key sequence like Lightning Bolt and Force of Will, and then draw them over the course of 2 turns. So yeah, you had to shuffle there. But...
And probe target yourself. Very nice.
Yeah, that's right. So
did you enjoy what you saw?
I said I cast probe, and I think David moved to show his hand, and I'm like, no, I'm targeting myself. That's what you got to do. You can't target the person with Leovold, right? Well, you can. It's just really stupid. And there's Colligan's command. Yep. Probably kill the young pyro. Yeah, seems correct.
And make you discard, so all the more reason to play those probes there.
Yep. He doesn't even have a creature in his graveyard. He's saying how bad is Colligan's command. It's a 3 mana shock, and that's all it was because he didn't even have anything to do. Can't make me discard. Can't return a creature. Probably because I haven't removed
David,
anything.
It's not as bad as natural selection, mate.
I'd rather all 4 of my natural selections.
Would you rather play 3 mana shocks? Or would you rather play natural selections?
I drew Lightning Bolt here. So that shuffle from Ponder and so on was all relevant because it's found me the Lightning Bolt, but obviously I can't cast it. I'm not casting it when I play.
You just got to hope he gets greedy and plays Jace.
Yeah. So that's the plan is, wait until he plays Jace and then respond to Jace on the stack, Lightning Bolt, and hope that in his draw phase and the draw off Leovold, he hasn't drawn a blue card. That's literally what I'm hoping.
Or you just and maybe even draw a second bolt because you're never going to get that bolt resolved. So
I could if this draw is a brick and the draw off Leovold is a brick whilst Jace on the stack. Yep. So there's a fatal push, so that's a brick. So here he goes for Jace. He has no other blue card in hand, so I will, and obviously I don't know this, but that's what I'm playing around. Yeah. I'm going, well...
It's better than letting him brainstorm and find it.
Exactly. So, but he Fate Seal's here. So here I'm telegraphing that I have... I might have something, but... he just Fate Seals to the bottom. If that was the other Lightning Bolt, I would be just crying. I'm already crying internally here, so, by the way. But... Just crying extra. Just thinking that's another lightning bolt that I really need. But it's always better when they push to the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we finally got our bolt, and look at the board.
Yeah. Well, it's
There's
good.
an
If this
active
resolves, I mean, it's not that bad because I can try and attack.
Not good.
Yeah, it's not good, but I can attack Jace, and he finds
That's no
he
way.
found the blue card.
That is gross.
Savage. So I, at this point, I'm like...
Because you could have just swung Jace. He blocks
Yeah.
with Shaman, and you get
and I
Jace
get
down to
4
1.
counters off Jace, and then I kill him the
And
next
then
turn.
Jace is bad, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, but then again, he's still top decking much better than me. Check pile's way good. So here we go. I cast another natural selection, but it's actually natural selection with a 0 mana mind. What's the one
It
where
is
you
better than that.
where you change the color of the card? Mind something. Magical hack. Magical hack, is that it? I don't know.
Do you get to shuffle with natural selection? I think you do. You do.
Let's find out.
I'm pretty sure you do.
So, natural selection, 1 green, instant. Look at the top 3 cards of target of any player's library.
Well,
it's already
so
getting
much
even better, isn't
We're
it?
so sorry, because you could have seen that counterspell.
You may opt to rearrange those 3 cards or shuffle the entire library, as opposed to half the library, the top half of the bottom
You would
half.
have been able to see the counterspell, the blue card.
Yeah.
For force.
I would have been able to see before my dreams are crushed.
Idiot. Why aren't you sideboarding natural selection?
Who's putting him on the bottom? It's... Oh, yeah. See, I don't know what that is. I'm just showing the camera because you can cry for me. So David is ticking Jace up, which in some ways I think is good, say when I'm top decking, but in other ways I totally think, hardcast Force of Will.
Yeah.
I think you just brainstorm every turn because I can't get back from brainstorm.
Yeah, that's right. What, if he's just getting an extra card.
If he's drawing 2
quality,
cards a turn.
1 quality card a turn extra.
Yeah. So I attack you with with all 5 of my guys. This is the best part. It doesn't block with Leovold because he thinks I've got something.
Nice.
Yeah, because I'm like,
Or is
maybe
he
I can
scared
have Colligan's Command.
Colligan's
Command, you
That's
guy?
true.
Yeah, like, I want him on the bluff.
But he doesn't have force anymore. Yeah, it's fair.
Well, do I even have a card in hand? Maybe it was an ultimate bluff. I don't even have a hand.
He's just hiding.
Yeah, I'm just like,
Hiding
look, my hands are on the table.
Just thinking
you can ask me how many cards I
flicking,
have.
how those players they flick their hand really loud, just flicking your hand. There's nothing in it.
Yeah. When your opponent doesn't block with Leovold, they're in a really commanding position. And now they're bashing in. Here we go. So, I mean,
He's also got 2 shamans, right?
Yeah. He's got 2 shaman.
I think
and I'm on 7.
You're at exactly 0 outs as of 3 turns ago. Right?
3. I'd say probably about 8, 10 turns ago. Wasteland. Hey, look, I can hardcast Force now next turn. When I'm dead. He's only got 1 black source, so he can gain life and then lose life. Make me lose life. I'm literally playing here to see if there's any additional information I can glean from him wanting to say windmill slam some awesome card off the top,
Yeah,
when
I'm
they
playing
play
Dragonlord
Charm or something.
Cylinder.
Yeah. You're like, okay, good to know. I'm so dead, but good to know. I pointed at Leovold and I'm like, card's good.
Card is good.
Card is good indeed.
So we're going to sideboards here, Sarv.
Yeah, so
talk me through it.
if you are in David Bemi's position, there are many different ways you can sideboard against a Delver deck. One of the primary methods you can do is to overload on removal. So you just bring in any other forms of removal. If you had removal in there for elves, for example, let's say you got a Forked Bolt, bring in Forked Bolt. If you have a Diabolic Edict in there for Show and Tell, bring in Diabolic Edict. You just bring in all the removal spells you have, plus Pyroblasts, and you become this amazingly grindy mid-range deck where aggro just can't beat mid-range, right? So it will just get ground out. The other alternative is you can bring in a Disruptive Sweep, and you can ensure that you don't get stifled. You can ensure that... that's literally it.
Okay.
No, you can bring
So it's correct to bring in the creature removal.
you can bring in stuff to fight counter wars and so on. The main thing is I win counter wars in the early game. I always win a counter war.
Yeah, whenever I played against Delver, my logic is just yes, he's got spell. I mean, I don't think you run a spell pierce, but decks like that have
Yeah.
days, etc. And like, okay, Foster Storm could be really good, but like I only lose to Delver / Gurmag / I only lose to creature spells.
Yeah.
Like you're not creeping targeting me, and you're not, casting Dig Through Time.
Yeah.
Something to just like, okay, that's too good. You don't even have Jace, right? So basically, if you just have anything that kills a creature for the rest of the game, you can't lose, and the mana to play it. So like, why try to side in Flusterstorms, etc. I think not that there's anything wrong. I think Flusterstorm's decent if you've got good cast to take out, or bad cast to take out even.
But you don't need it here.
But like, you still just lose to Delver. Like, there's still so many ways they can free win.
There's definitely arguments to say the method that I remember that David took
Fire
with
and
this
Blast
one
is good, obviously.
was
Does both.
He took the method of doing option A. Yes, he brought in all of his removal, and I'm like, oh, this is really hard to slog through. And he also had option B as well, so he also brought in say Flusterstorm and so on. And his logic was, if he has all the removal and he has say Flusterstorm, he can protect that removal, and it's basically like having an additional removal spell, so to speak. You're protecting the removal spell, so it's like you cast a second one almost. So that's the method he took. At the end of the day, it's hard to sideboard wrong when you're on Czech pile versus Delver, because you're designed to prey on Delver. And the question is, how do I sideboard? I mean, that's like the issue here with Legacy is because it's such a streamlined format, and there's so many decks. There's something like, let's say 10. So he's taken out all forces, all the Jaces, all the Lily. So he's basically taken all of his value plan out, and he's taken out forces. The reason I don't do that, the reason I keep in forces, is because if you're a deck that dies with forces in your hand or dies with cards in your hand, it means there's all the removal. Oh, it's going to be so hard to fight through that.
I think Force is still good because, as I said,
you keep
Force is the ultimate tempo card, and you are playing tempo, and David's playing control, so he needs cheap things, and Force of Will is as cheap as it gets.
Yeah,
he's always going to win the late game. He's always going to win.
That's it. Throw away card advantage in the early game.
He's always going to have card advantage later on. Just don't die to Delver. Even if you take out your card advantage, like you might think, oh well, I took out my Jaces and I took out my Lilies. You still have card advantage.
Yeah.
The other thing is Lily. I don't think Lily's great, but it does kill a creature. I think it's bad
because
you've
got
got Pyro.
3 mana Edict, right?
Yeah, you got Pyro, so Edict's not that good. So I think it's fine to take out Lily, but yeah, I would have kept in.
You
Force
keep
of Will.
Forces. The thing to think about for forces is, imagine that the Force of Will, when you've got a removal spell in hand, imagine the Force of Will is a 0 mana removal spell. So you're essentially protecting that one removal spell you're using. So
it's better than that because you can also like
you can do other things with it.
You can do other things,
yeah. The issue for Delver here is, as I was saying before, you can have 10 tier 1 decks in Legacy, then you have like a whole bunch of other tier 2 decks and tier 1.5 in between. There's so many decks that no matter how you construct your sideboard and your main deck, you will always have a bad matchup somewhere. So you can't really focus so much on trying to have a good matchup against everything. And this one, Czech pile is Delver's bad matchup, and I could put, say, in my sideboard, Kess, 1 Jason Mind Sculptor, 1 Painful Truths, or something like that, and just say, hey, let's change post board into having some haymakers, and then being able to win the mid-rangey matchups, i.e. Delver versus Delver, you become the mid-range deck. But when you're fighting another mid-range deck, you can't actually transform into another mid-range deck because they've just still got so much value already naturally, and you've only brought in, say, 3 cards from the sideboard. So
I totally agree. When you're playing against control, you got this urge to be like, oh, well, he's got heaps of card advantage, so I should get some card advantage things in there. And actually, the only way you can win is getting underneath it. Yeah. And you probably want to go faster.
Correct. And that's what I've done here. I've just basically I made a lean and mean game one version, configuration of the deck. And I think I only changed maybe a couple of cards. I can't remember exactly what I did. Pyroblast, because they deal with Leovold. That's the most important thing. Deal with Leovold. But I'm down at 6 now.
You don't even want to be dealing with
this is my
Leovold.
hand of 6 with no land. So
he's got a land and a ponder, so it'll do.
Yeah, but I'm on the play. So if I have Stifles, what kind of land is it? So like, if you're on check pile, sometimes you just have to mull a hand with 1 land, because if your opponent has Wasteland or Stifle, you literally can't play the game. So yeah, you have to be,
especially a 4-color deck. Like he's got Abrupt Decay and Bolt in his hand. You know.
Yeah, so he might have kept a. He's like, go down further.
Look at that. That's a genuine little.
Yeah.
You know,
he can taste it. He can taste the feeling
thumbs
of
down
of
was
the win.
a funny, light-hearted joke for the camera.
Yeah,
But
we're joking around, guys. Don't
David,
take it too seriously.
I saw a genuine, deep down little fist bump there that I think was from the dark place of David's heart. So I just want you to know that was caught on camera, David. And I'll take that in mind next time I play against you, mate.
Yeah, I'll go to 5. Yeah, he's reminding me. It's 5. It's 5, bro. It's not more than that. All right. So my 5 has 1 land, and some bad removal spells. So Fatal Push, Forked Bolt, Ponder, and Young Pyromancer. I scry, and if it's on top, it's probably a land. If it's on the bottom, it's probably not a land. Unless it's a Delver. So this is where I'm thinking it might have been a Wasteland, I think.
Would you rather be at 5 on the play or 6 on the draw?
Oh, well, I'd rather always be on the play. So I would take 5 on the play because I'm the Delver deck. So here, yeah, it was a Wasteland that I left on top because I went, well, I'm going to Ponder anyway. And yeah, Wasteland, Gurmag.
It seems like a shelf.
It's so bad, right? I'm like, oh, can I survive with the Wasteland? Like, I need this Wasteland so that I can cast Young Pyro? No, shuffle. Like, drawing 2 cards that are horribly dead.
Look, that's a
bad.
shuffle, but there is a chance that you just get a free win here if he happens to keep a hand that's vulnerable to Wasteland and Stifle. And you just go, oh, thank God, you, like, whiffed on your...
Yeah.
Ponder and...
I mean, my ideal 5 would have been turn 1 Delver, turn 2 Wasteland and Stifle in hand. That would have been like, I would have kept that 4 with that land.
Yeah.
Because that's what you got to do. You just got to mull to something that you can actually win against something. You know, even though this is like some kind of what is it, like a 60-40 matchup. So in Legacy, it's good. Legacy's matchups are really nice where you don't have a whole bunch of like in Modern's a good example where sometimes you got matches where, especially post-board, you're like 70-30. There's heaps of 70-30 matchups you have, or 30-70, depending on which side you're on. But in Legacy, pre-board, you've got a bunch of 55-45s, and maybe your worst matchup, like this is the worst matchup, and it'll be like 60-40. You're still totally winnable. It's good.
For sure.
But then after sideboarding, you're like 50-50 against everything. Right.
Yeah, well, the other thing is that...
or Hydroblast.
Yeah, Hydroblast is rough.
Kind of strong against my hand
Mind
of
you,
single
I don't think Hydroblast
red threat.
Is like, I don't think you...
Oh, it's only 3 Young Pyros. That's the only targets.
Right? Like, and bolts, but like, I don't know how much you care about bolts.
Oh, it's not like young... I wouldn't bring in Hydroblast here, but the fact that he has is actually pretty heads up because it lines up insanely well against my hand of
Seems like a really bad top deck. When you're trying to deal with like Delvers on the board. Because as we said, he loses to Delver basically.
Yeah.
And maybe a really early Gurmag. So you definitely don't want to just like, oh, I started in Hydro and I got unlucky because he had a threat that wasn't specifically the Hydro. Well, you should maybe try to get something a bit more versatile than that because it's only like 1/3 of your threats.
Yeah. So on my side, I spent turn 1 pondering, turn 2 pondering to try and find my second land drop, get the land drop. Like, that's not where you want to be when you're meant to be the aggressor. But I did find Grim Lavamancer. So this is a legit threat. So I'm going, well, use your removal on this guy so that next turn I can play Young Pyromancer. That's my plan. But he's got 2 basics here. He's cleverly fetched out the basic island off the Scalding Tarn, knowing that I obviously keep in all my wastelands in this matchup. He's got a push on that. I do mention that if you saw my list in the deck list graphic earlier, you'll note that I'm on 3 wasteland, 1 island as a strange configuration. It's solely because this meta, it was really, really Death and Taxes heavy was my prediction. And then it turned out, I arrived on the day, no one was running Death and Taxes. Like the last one we had, Hydroblast, and had the blue up for it.
Yeah.
It was such a beating. Like, that's so strong.
Mind you, I was just ripping on Hydroblast, but it is cheap. and it does let him do stuff like
Cheap
that.
interaction.
And we were just talking about how you can only win by getting underneath him, and that's a way that stops you from getting underneath him. So I'll give Hydroblast that.
Yep,
I just
and
think
it counters Pyroblast.
It does.
Bolts on Leovold.
It does.
Protects Leovold. So David here has missed his land drops, and he's on 2 basics. So I'm going, well, there's still a chance. If I can draw another threat, there's a chance, but I don't draw another threat. So, yeah, my hand is Brainstorm, Fatal Push, Cabal Therapy, Forked Bolt. It's pretty bad.
I would have brainstormed this.
Nah.
You're too greedy, mate.
Nah. Like, if I brainstorm there and I don't hit a threat or a fetch land, I've basically lost the game. So if I can go one more turn, I'm going, buy one more turn, get one extra card deeper. Hopefully I can make sure that I guaranteed hit. You know, if I draw 3 threats off, there's a fetch land. So if I draw 3 threats off this brainstorm, and then I shuffle away the bad cards, I suddenly have a whole bunch of running threats that can get through the removal spells.
Yeah, I mean, he's still stuck as well.
Yeah.
And you can just back 1 threat up with 2 more threats.
Exactly.
Potentially.
Yeah. And my hand, like that fetch land does switch on the black cards in my hand. Not the Fatal Push, I don't really care about that, but Cabal Therapy. So he's Flusterstorming my Brainstorm, and this is where you can see why Flusterstorms can be bad, but he's forcing me to crack my fetch land, which is definitely relevant. He knows that I'm in a top deck mode, and he knows that my Brainstorm plus fetch land is a really good combination of getting me back into the game. So it's a heads up play to Flusterstorm this just to tap me
It's
out.
almost sort of put you back
time
that turn that you were talking about where you brainstorm and you said, well, if I don't draw the threat or the fetch land, I just lose. He's put you on that again, hasn't he?
Correct. It's like a time walk here, so to speak. So he's
A
making
very bad time walk.
Yeah,
But
it's
a time
terrible
walk
time walk.
nonetheless.
He's making these plays that look really suboptimal on the surface in terms of, Flusterstorming when they can pay for it. But it's relevant. Cracking fetches, making them crack a fetch before they can brainstorm is relevant. And so is tapping me out, because it actually slows me down dramatically and it allows him chances to get into the late game and mid game, which is what he wants to be in. So as you can see, I couldn't play any threats there and I couldn't shuffle away the bad cards.
When he's his third, is this going to be Leovold?
Leovold is a legit threat, but he's playing Baleful Strix, so...
Nothing wrong with that.
Yep. This guy is really, really strong against Delver. I mean, if you...
Investment for later, isn't it?
Yeah, if you haven't been on the receiving end of a death-touching blocker, which is basically a removal spell, when you play a single attacker, it's like such a beating. But my hand, it looks like after the shuff and then the brainstorm, because I had to do the brainstorm, obviously, resolved after the shuffle, I didn't even hit any threats. So it's pretty rough. Also note that if I'd brainstormed earlier, I would have been Flusterstormed, because I was only on 1 land.
It's very true. You would have been successfully stormed. But here's another one.
Yep. And I do have a fetch land in hand, and I have the liberty of not playing the fetch land out now because I can bait him into using a Flusterstorm again, because he can go, well, it worked last time, I can do it again, time walk here. But I still have the fetch land in hand. So I'm really still just digging for threats here. And little do I know, so yeah, Daze and Lightning Bolt are in my hand. And I'm putting away the Daze for sure. It's far too late in the mid game for me to leverage the Daze. So the Daze is going back. Here's the fetch land, and it's really just a matter of trying to find threats. Let's see if I found one. I think it was Cabal Therapy, right? All right, here's Cabal Therapy. And hey, guess what I might name with Cabal Therapy? What's something that I'm afraid of coming down around a Daze the following turn? It rhymes with Eovold.
Is it Lily? I thought he started Lily out.
Oh, yeah, it might be that.
It's
Brainstorm. So it's a whiff because there's no Leovold, but it's Brainstorm.
What is that glare? Is that
that's
Fluster?
Flusterstorm.
Another Fluster.
Pyroblast. So now you can see the disadvantage of doing the over sideboarding. So here his hand is glutted. So he's glutted with Flusterstorms and Pyroblasts and Abrupt Decays. He's actually got literally, if you count the Flusterstorm as a way to protect a removal spell, it's 3 removal spells, so to speak, but no threat. But if one of those cards was, say, I can't think of what was it, Liliana the Veil. There's a Liliana the Veil, or I don't even
Well,
like
I guess force, because he took forces out. So if he kept a force in,
yeah,
I don't think it'd be. I think I'd rather be forced there, just because you're already ahead and you've got like 2 brainstorms. You're happy to lose one of them. If it deserves it. But
we're in the mid game now, so the force doesn't look as good.
Yeah.
But
I think it's still when you're ahead like this.
Yeah, and it would have been good on turn 1. When say if I had a really really awesome hand, having that force would be like, whew, oh, counter it. Okay, then I daze it. Okay, you untap, you pyroblast it. Like it's pretty strong.
And if you're not going to Flusterstorm Ponders, then you're really forcing yourself to keep up blue all the time to counter like something big. But there's nothing big. There's no big spells you play. There's cheap spells. So he's never really going to keep it up for something big. He's only going to... It's actually almost going to put him back a turn, because he's going to go like, well, I better League of Old turn 4 to keep up 1 mana for Flusterstorm.
Correct. So you'll note that he cast a Brainstorm at the end of my turn there. That's really mainly only because he has 2 Brainstorms in hand. Like, if it's your only Brainstorm, you wouldn't throw it away there. But if you... One of the advantages of that play, which doesn't on the surface look the way you want to leverage a Brainstorm, is because if he Brainstorms specifically into 4th land Jace the Mind Sculptor, he's suddenly got a really, really powerful follow-up play. And he still has another Brainstorm in hand to use at a later date. But that didn't end up happening.
Well, he took out his Jaces.
But and his Jaces are out, so it's pretty moot. So is this a threat? Is this a threat?
The same as 4 mana Jaces, 3 mana.
Forked Bolt. Yeah, it's not a threat. Forked Bolt, your guy, and you. I would not fight over this, nor would I brainstorm in response.
Well, I think he's only brainstorming because he wants to make it a Flusterstorm, and here you see he's working too hard for a sideboard card. Look, I don't think Flusterstorm's that bad against you. I just don't think it's an amazing sideboard card. Like, here we see him working really hard to make Flusterstorm good.
Yeah.
But it's a sideboard card. So, like, you shouldn't have to work hard. It should be, like, effortless, because that's what the card's good for. Not like hey, this card could blow him out. It has to either it's a silver bullet, or it's very, very versatile and good against his deck generally. Not it's quite good against a lot of his deck.
Yep, true. Or in this case, I mean, it ended up resolving anyway, but there's definitely merit there to just letting it resolve anyway, because you've already got the card off the Baleful Strix. It's got 1 or 2 points of damage in, and it allows you to just take a removal spell.
You're better off doing a good brainstorm and trying to find another Strix, right? How many Strixes does he run?
Too many. Too many for me. It's really hard to deal with. There's a Ponder. This is a real Ponder, not my poor natural selections. He's got a real Ponder. So shuffling here is pretty strong. And he did brainstorm the previous turn, so he's shuffling away 1 bad card, so to speak.
And as we talk, he's just getting stronger and stronger as we've gone to the late game.
Yeah, definitely. He's really cementing his...
It's just making such a difference every single turn. It's getting exponentially harder for you to come back. When you're spending entire turns forked bolting, and he's spending turns getting value off Strixes and the like. So
definitely.
Ooh, and then the land go from Sarv.
The old land go. It's the hey, I've totally got force of will. This is so scary. It's like, you don't really care about getting forced here. Doesn't matter. So yeah, I'll let the end of turn brainstorm. I mean, you've got an active fetch, which is always really rough. When you're staring down someone casting brainstorm, they've already got the fetch on the table. You know that feeling where you're like, oh no, you're just going to ancestral recall right now. It's literal ancestral recall.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I mean, he's just pondered as well. So after he untaps here, you've got to assume his hand is just full of gas, because he's not deploying things, but he's been manipulating.
That's right. His hand's got to be good. The thing is, remember how we're talking about deck dilution, and his deck has actually lost all of its high end, so he doesn't have Jace, doesn't have really any kind of value engines from the main deck like Jace. So instead, his hand is full of removal spells, but I'm not playing anything to get removed. So
that's why it's taken so long. But here we go. Here's a shaman, and that's good enough. Like, that deserves.
Deathrat Shaman definitely needs an answer.
And he's still got Leovold in there, and
absolutely. So I think I've got a removal spell here, but I don't remove at end of turn. Do I not remove at end of turn, or do I? I think I was playing around Flusterstorm. I can't remember. Let's find out. So Fatal Push. Yeah, so just Fatal Push here. Because if he flusters, then it's going to cost...
too many.
Enough, enough for me to pay. And if he works at trying to find a way, I go, here we go. Here's a threat.
Nice.
I
And
slam it on the table. I'm like, this is a threat I've been
going
looking
all
for.
the way.
Yeah, I think I said something like that. I'm like, this guy, my win con has arrived. Here it is. All I need to do is protect this 5/5, which is relatively easy to do when the opponents have lightning bolt, pyroblast, hydroblast, flusterstorm, and don't have Jace to bounce it. Like it's definitely easier to protect a Gurmag than it is to protect a Delver of Secrets.
I think if there's any threat you're going to want, it's that one there. But yeah, certainly you wanted that about 5 turns ago.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you land a Gurmag Angler on turn 3, if this game had... if the Volcanic Island was a Underground Sea in my hand of 5, and that Young Pyro was in fact a Gurmag, I think the game could have played out slightly differently because the threat is really fast, it's early, and it was able to be not able to be removed easily.
It's very true, Sarv. I mean, it's a word of this, though.
Yeah, and that's a Diabolic Edict.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's the way. I was going, yeah, what could you have? You probably only have Diabolic Edict. And he's like, Diabolic Edict? Yep. I mean, you'd expect that after 2 brainstorms, 3 ponders.
3 brainstorms,
yeah,
2
3
ponders,
brainstorms.
yeah.
Like, he's definitely got answers. And
yeah, and I think, this is pretty well done, right? If it weren't the finals, you'd be scooping.
Delver of Secrets.
If it weren't, game 2 of the finals, you'd be scooping here, really.
Yeah, I just said, here's something that's way easier for you to deal with. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, if he could deal with the Gurmag, he could deal with that. But
looking at the game in retrospect, there's definitely thoughts to me stockpiling a bunch of threats in hand and then casting them. But the problem is the later the game goes, the worse it gets. And I don't know he's taken out Jace. I'm thinking any point in time, he could just pull ahead, steamroll me with card advantage. But instead, he's just trading 1 for 1. And that's actually really hard for me to deal with after this kind of board position.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's got a lot of choices as well. Still making the right choices, obviously. He wants to use the...
Trino Nemesis.
That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Now he has to have Snap or another Intent. He's only got so many Intents, right?
Yeah, but he's got actual counterspell.
Okay, we're counterspell.
Yeah.
Works as well.
Like, his deck is just mono answers. I think I'll go from mid-range into mono answers. And it's hard for Delver to deal with mono answers, right? Because we've only got 14 creatures in the deck, right?
Yeah. You are all in on wins.
Yeah.
You're all in on winning the game, and he is all in on not that.
Yeah, that's right. He doesn't need to win the game. He just needs to not let me have any threats. And if I have no threats, then eventually he'll just deck me.
Nice.
He just needs to counter or remove all 14 of my threats. And he's got more than 14 removal spells, right?
It's a good point. You've gotten, a fair chunk through it as well. So
yeah. Now, this is a brainstorm in the late game. Late game brainstorms, when you have an active fetch, are really, really good. And I said here, like, surely I can draw 3 threats here. I think I said something like, if I can run you out of removal spells and I don't play a threat because I didn't find any. But this is legitimately what happens. Like, I have gone through how many threats? I've gone through about four threats, like a Gurmag, a True Name, a Delver, and a Young Pyro, I think. There's only 10 threats left in my deck, right?
Yeah, it's a really good point. He literally does, jokes aside, have more removal spells than you have threats.
Yeah.
So he just needs to survive until he draws them all, and then he can't lose.
But here he plays Leovold, and
or do that.
Yeah, remember my hand was full of answers because it was that terrible mulligan, and there was just like lightning bolt and all these other things, but only 1 threat. So this is where the lightning bolt finally comes out. Yes, I got a target. It's designated.
It's gross though, because he draws.
Leovold, but he draws a card. I know it feels so bad, but when you got a lightning bolt, you got to use it. So he's going lightning bolt me and then Flusterstorm. Yeah, so Flusterstorm is 3 copies plus the original, so 4 total. So I can't pay 4, so it's actually, sure it looks like card disadvantage because he's lightning bolting me,
but he's drawing a card anyway.
But it's card parity. So putting them on the stack, I go, there's 4 copies of Flusterstorm, all targeting my lightning bolt, and I go, well, I can pay 3 and I can try and counter 1. It feels bad. It's not a format like Vintage where I have Mental Misstep as well. So this is me. Days 1 copy of Flusterstorm. Force you to pay 1. and he has heaps of mana, right? And so this way...
Daze is getting, pretty bad.
So my rationale here was there's always a chance that he doesn't, there's a minuscule chance that he doesn't pay it. But 99% of the time he is going to pay it. And my goal is that if I get a Brainstorm in the late game, I'm going to be able to shuffle lands back into my library because I don't need them on the battlefield. And if I shuffle Daze back into my library, I could draw the Daze later, and it's terrible.
It's pretty minuscule, but I guess it can't hurt just bouncing a land. Like, Daze is dead at this point.
It turns Daze into a land in your hand. Yeah. So instead of a Daze in hand, you've got a land in hand. The Daze are never relevant now when he's got 10 lands out. He could keep these lands in hand just to be able to put them back with Brainstorm in the late game, because a top deck Brainstorm would become an Ancestral Recall there.
Yeah, I mean, control decks want to hit their land drops every turn, but it gets to a point where you've just got enough, right? Like, I think
you don't need... He's got 9.
Yeah, like he wants a fetch land, and he just keeps it up literally for his last Brainstorm in his deck, and then has a really, really good Brainstorm. Mind you, Sarv, he literally only has one Brainstorm left in his deck.
There's one Brainstorm left. So, yeah. Well, my Delver of Secrets, so... I think so. Yeah, I think he took Snapcaster out, didn't he? Because he took the value package out. He took out...
No, I reckon you'd keep Snap, though, because being able to go, like, turn 3 Snap Bolt...
Yeah, but I think he did take them out, because he just wanted to be mono removal and answers. That's why he's having so much hard time actually ending the game, because the only thing he has are value cards.
Because it's been a long game, despite him being just well ahead the entire time. And I think he can... he wants to give up counters here. I think you could just pretty well jam. Like, if your last spell is a removal spell for that Leovold, he goes, okay, I draw, and then, like, you're out of cards. I've got, like, a couple of bad cards in hand. I've got all the mana I'll ever need, and the rest of my deck is, like, better than the rest of your deck.
Yeah, definitely. So he has Leovold's back because he's got Culligan Commanded back.
The other thing about playing Philosopher's Storm is
and here's Daze again. So he's got 1 mana open, so I just cast Daze on it and say, actually tap your mana so that you can't have anything, but also so that I have a land in hand, and there it goes. So that's it. I can't win from there, really. He's got Leovold out, and I don't have any way to dig for answers from draw spells. And so that's a victory solidly, like, that was just clean slate. I can't remember what the term is. 2-0. He just trounced me, absolutely destroyed me. And that welcomes David Bemi into our Hall of Heroes, because he's now got a one win on the board.
Welcome, David. Welcome.
Yep. Winner of the Legacy Challenge.
Yeah, I think Leovold was very strong there, although I think he was probably looking good even without him by that second game.
Yeah, that's right. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. We're Adelaide Eternal, and we'll be bringing you Highlander next month.
All right, see you then, guys. Look forward to it.